welcome to our Lunch with the Boxer series. My name is Gina. I'll be your host today. I believe most of the names I've seen, we do have a few new names here. If it's your first time joining us for one of our Zoom sessions, welcome. We are very happy to have you here. If you can just ensure that your first and last name is showing up. So if there are any questions that we are unable to get to today, we can ensure to follow up with the correct people. If you hover onto the bottom of the screen, you can see a little bubble that says chat there. Feel free to go ahead and enter in your questions. You can have it so that everybody can see your question, or you can send it to me, Gina Lee, your host, privately, and I will go ahead and read those questions aloud to our presenters today. So without further ado, I'm actually just going to go ahead and see if we can get Sarah Phillips and Denise Giespers here today. And then we can get started. Hi, Sarah, how are you?
I am good. I think I'm turning, okay, hello. Thank you all for being here. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope that your families are well too. I'm Sarah Phillips. I'm the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, so that means that I'm the Dean of most of the undergraduates on campus and everybody who's coming in. So I'm here today to answer any questions that you have about starting up in the fall, how things will be. I'll talk for a minute, a little bit about that, but then we can talk about whatever you want to, whatever is helpful for you. So if you were on campus right now today, here's what you'd be seeing. We are putting tents up on campus so that we can have some classes outside. We will have all of our classes will have students 6 feet apart from each other, and some of them moving outside. You will see signs going up on campus showing people what 6 feet is, since sometimes we underestimate what 6 feet is. Those signs are going up today. You would be seeing there's a group of faculty today on campus who are testing out some of the new technology in one of our classrooms. We have all of our teaching spaces are set up now so that students can be remote or in person. And so for the next month or so, we're going to run all of our faculty through those rooms so they can practice with that, since that's a little different than what we typically do. You might see we ordered a bunch of outdoor games to try to encourage people to be outside. So you might start seeing those show up. I am going to run all of my faculty meetings with those outdoor games. This is my plan for the year. There are a number of folks going around campus, organizing things for classrooms, moving tables and chairs around, putting up signs, this sort of thing. So it's actually sort of surprisingly busy on campus of people running around doing things, even though a lot of us are home. You're in my spare bedroom right now. But it is actually fun to be on campus. I was there earlier this week. So I'm happy to talk about anything about the start of school or what classes will look like or anything like that. I'm going to stop talking at this second so that Denise can chat a little bit about the work that she and all of her folks are doing, all the actual work. So I'll let them do some talking.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. So excited to be here with you again today. My name is Denise Giespers, and I'm the Director for Orientation. I also oversee the Office of Transfer Student Services, Greek Life, and co-coordinate Veteran Services. I also happen to be an alum, and my oldest child will be a sophomore at Pacific. So I fully understand all the complexities of having a kid planning to be at Pacific this year. So right with you in your shoes. Also, I'm very excited to see that the first chat question actually has to do with move-in and coordination and all of those fun things, because I'm eating, breathing, sleeping, all of that information. It seems like 24/7. So I can, Gina, go ahead and just start to answer questions if that's helpful. Perfect. So yes, you can register for voyages, and the link was just put into the chat. What I can tell you is there is a minimal amount of openings. They have a wait list currently, so you can go ahead and connect. At this point, I do not foresee them getting through much more of their wait list just because they've had quite an extensive wait list, but you're more than welcome to connect with them. I had a meeting with them last week and they said they definitely are still seeing if there are openings, how to fill those. How will move-in be coordinated? Well, we have a great opportunity this year to do it a little bit differently. That's how we're looking at all of this. Adaptability, no challenges, it's just opportunities. So our opportunity really is, so we will have a centralized check-in location that all students will go to upon their arrival. Move-in will be rolling. You will get on the 20th, actually, I guess that's only a couple of days away. On the 20th, we will be releasing the signups to be able to do your move-in. You all should have received a communication about a week and a half ago that just outlined all of the general information. Your students will be getting their housing assignment tomorrow afternoon. We need a little bit of time just to adjust once those housing assignments have gone out, the actual sign-up pieces. So we'll roll that out on Monday with another communication. Super excited about finally having that available for everybody to sign up. So that is how we will coordinate move-in and the initial check-in to the university. And then I see another question about voyages. So if you have already signed up a while back, your student should have already received communication from Voyages about the trips that they will be on if they were selected. If you haven't heard from them, I would recommend that you contact them directly just to make sure that there isn't some kind of a glitch. Technology is tired as all of us are at our homes working. And so I know that myself, I have a couple of emails that did not get sent, even though I hit the send button. They just kind of sat there in my draft and out box. I have no idea why. So I would just recommend that you go ahead and connect back with them if you haven't heard from them, but check with your student because your student should have received a communication from them.
Perfect, thank you. And I did add the email to Voyages on there, so you can definitely go ahead and feel free to email them just to check up on the status. And we did get a couple of questions prior to registration as well as kind of sent to me privately. So I'm just gonna go through the list if that's all right. I can't believe it's already July 16th right now. I feel like we missed that on not only the month of May, but all of July right now as well. So the first question that was sent to us is, what is the plan if COVID-19 continues to rise? Will classes move to online, and how soon will the students be informed?
So that's a good question, and a question that everybody has, I know that. So our plan is to welcome students back to campus in person. We have every possible protection that we can come up with there. I cannot promise you that there is no risk. I can promise you that we are doing everything that we can to minimize that risk of transmission. So if there is an outbreak, or if there is an increase, or if we are told by somebody outside of us, like the governor, that we are not allowed to be in person, then yes, we will move to online, and we will make sure that nothing bad happens to any of our students, right? They will continue on. We will take care of that. So so people don't need to be worried about that part. Nobody gets dropped or loses out or falls behind. But it is our plan to be in person unless something outside of Pacific tells us that we cannot be so, right? So it's your job as a family to think about your own risk tolerance. Everybody is really pretty different about that. And so think about where your risk tolerance lies and what you are comfortable doing and what you are not comfortable doing. And we will try to accommodate that. If that is a mixture of in-person and online, if it is living at home and attending online, if it is living on campus and attending some things online, we will work with you on that because we know everybody doesn't have the same feelings about that. People are pretty individual about that. So that is a conversation you all should be having to talk about that, right? Of what's our risk tolerance there. But we will not go all online unless something outside of Pacific makes us go all online. And if that happens, everybody will know immediately because it will happen fast, right? It will be a, hey, here's what's happening tomorrow. So you will know pretty much as soon as we know.
Thank you. And this is a follow-up question, and I don't know if you can answer this. How are we addressing the possibility of asymptomatic transmission?
So that's a good question. So we have, well, I will tell you a little about some of the protocols that we have in place. So it is possible, right, for asymptomatic transmission to happen. We have a mask or face covering requirement on campus. Anytime that you are on campus, this includes in your classes, people will be wearing a face covering, not in your dorm room, but anywhere else, right? When you're out and about, you will be wearing one. This is a proven, demonstrated way to minimize that risk of transmission for asymptomatic folks. So we have that rule. We will have social distancing rules so that people are a minimum of 6 feet apart. If there are cases where students have to be closer than 6 feet with their faculty member, let's say you're in a lab and somebody has to show you how to use an instrument, right? And so they have to be next to you, or you're in a painting class and somebody has to stand next to you to help you figure out how to use the brush correctly. In that case, we will have face coverings and plexiglass barriers or face shields. So we'll cover eyes and nose and mouth. So we are taking as many precautions as we can to minimize that sort of transmission. Every student, before they come back on campus, will have a little mini class about COVID and about how it's transmitted, and we'll have explained to them what are the requirements and the expectations for students on campus in terms of protecting each other. Faculty and staff all have a class aimed at them for the same thing and have to follow the same sorts of rules. I know that related to this is always questions about testing, and we will have access to testing for any of our students who are symptomatic, or if they are in a high risk group. For example, let's say you are on a dance team, right? Or you are a football player where you are going to be physically really close to people a lot. Those folks will have a regular testing plan. If anybody becomes symptomatic, we have a plan for them being tested as well. So we are trying to get all of those things lined up and ready. And maybe that's enough about that at the moment. I'm happy to talk about any other part.
Yeah, no, I think you touched on that. There was a comment made to, encourage us to do 2-stage testings as well. And just kind of, we are keeping an eye out on what's being done out there. I know we still have a COVID task force, even though we will be having classes in the fall time. So we are definitely keeping our eyes on that. I'm going to quickly go into orientation real quick because we had some questions pop in there. So I think, Denise, you talked about last week that if the families order their books online, that they can pick it up at check-in. Is that still the case? Are we still having that process?
Yes. So the bookstore is currently putting together some information that will be coming out to tell you exactly how to do it. That'll be part of our online orientation very early on. Early August is when that will come out. If we get the information sooner, we will try to roll that out in our normal newsletter communications that we've been sending. But yes, if you pre-order your books through the bookstore, we will have them available and hand them to you at our centralized check-in. So we're very excited to be able to offer that and limit some of that foot traffic to some of those areas that are just much smaller than the number of students moving onto campus on those days.
Absolutely. And then when students, sorry, a while back they got a move-in about voyages. So they already signed up for a time slot. Is that valid still, or do they have to go back and sign up for a new time slot if they are on voyages and coming in early and have already signed up?
So Voyage participants were sent an email by the office that does that. And your time frames will stay the same of what you've been sent, but you will still need to officially sign in when we send out the notifications. So that way we have the additional information that we are requiring to be able to be prepared for you to arrive. So yes, the timeframes that you were given are still the same, but you will need to do the online portion on Monday as well.
Perfect. And then the other question about move-in is, do they really only have 2 hours to bring stuff into their dorm rooms, or can parents stay longer to help? Can you kind of discuss a little bit more of that time frame, please?
Yeah, this is a real bummer. Super sorry. It's a very complicated game of Tetris that we're playing to keep everybody as safe as possible, adhere to the state and county regulations as well as Pacific's regulations. So yes, you will only have 2 hours to move in, and we're then asking that your family members and you leave the building so we can do some cleaning. Obviously, your students that have moved back or have moved in will be able to go back into their rooms. That's not an issue. But then we will have a couple of other things that we'll be offering you to do on campus that we know that family members, if you are there, will want to do, such as you may still need to go to the business office. You may need to go to financial aid. So you will have a schedule of events of those things that you need to do. Once those things have ended, your timeframes, they will be scheduled because we have 4 different rolling move-in timeframes to get everybody into the residence halls that need to move in. We will be asking that families and parents, the support systems that are coming with them, we've asked up to 2 people only to try to mitigate how many people are on campus with all of those people moving in on those days. So after that, we're asking you to please leave your families and say your goodbyes, so that way the next day's people coming in can have that same opportunity that you had to have those same safety protocols in place. It's difficult. I completely understand. It's not the way we would want this to be, but we're all in a challenging time, and this is the best way that we have come up with to mitigate all of those different contacts and ability to make people as safe as possible.
Thank you. And for the athletes that are moving in, are they being told when to move in, or do they have to sign up for a separate time as well? How is it going to work for our student athletes?
Yes, so your student athletes have already been sent the days that they will move in. And they as well will be signing up for a time frame on Monday. All of that will come out at the same time. Everybody has the same opportunity to go on and log on and pick a time frame. Because our numbers for the athletics are smaller, we will be offering a shorter time. There won't be 4 different time frames because we don't need 8 hours worth of move-in time. So that'll be adjusted a little bit for those. We've been working with the athletic coaches to make sure that that is all doable. But Monday, you will receive those links as well. It's through a system called Calendly. You'll find your time block, click on it. It'll ask you, what residence hall you're in, what room you're in. You'll pick the time frame, and it's a pretty easy system. I actually got to view it this morning just to verify that we're good to go. And it's pretty intuitive. You just click, 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 and you're done.
So thank you. The last thing that I have for dorm, I guess it just popped up. Is it possible to go to the store for last minute items during move-in and then come back to the dorm? That's a really great question, actually.
Yes. So what we're asking that you do is, yes, you're more than welcome to go off campus and get those last minute move-in items. What we would ask is that the family members not re-enter the residence halls, but allow your student to take them to their room and do that. That's pretty much what we're asking everybody to do, just so that we can mitigate how many people are going in and out with all those high touch surfaces. And we're doing extra cleaning protocols. But that will be what we're asking family members to do, is to bring it to your student and let them take it up.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I did get a question in here about advising and when students are going to be signing up for classes. So I'm going to go ahead and just quickly answer that. Students are already signed up and, registered. So if you have not received a time or a slot with your advisor yet, please make sure to check your Pacific email address. I know advising has been reaching out to everybody through their Pacific email. If you haven't, I did just add in their email address there. It's advisingcenter@pacificu.edu. Only I spelled Pacific wrong, so I apologize for that. So it's going to be advisingcenter@pacificu.edu, and they'll be in contact with you. Just let them know, like, hey, haven't really heard about it. Advising and registration yet, can you let me know, and they'll be able to give you an update. So we're gonna go ahead and answer more questions about COVID and kind of how that's going to look. Do face covering include shields, or is it just masks? And then one that kind of follows up with that was, will they be required to wear it in the dorm room, or is it just the dorm hallways? Kind of from there.
So face coverings, when I use the phrase face coverings, I'm meaning a mask that covers your nose and your mouth. We tend to use, we have a variety of different programs on campus, and so we tend to use the phrase face covering because a mask implies an N95 mask that has to be fit to your face. And so when I say a face covering, it's a reusable cloth, right, mask. So that's what I mean when I'm saying a face covering. Face shields are plastic, right, that come down in front of your face. They don't take the place of a mask, but they cover your eyes if you're going to be in closer contact with folks. So in most cases, our students will be distanced so that a face covering, just the mask, is fine, right? In cases where students will be closer, or if there is a reason why they cannot wear a mask, then they will have a face shield. So I'll give you one example of that. We have a lot of students who study American Sign Language. Practicing with lip reading is part of that. It's hard to lip read with a mask on. So we actually have made a bunch of masks with windows in them, but we also have face shields for all of those classes because the students have to be able to see the lips in order to do that. So that's the difference there. What was the other question?
The other question was, are they required to wear the masks indoors in their dorm rooms, or is it just going to be dorm halls? And
so you are expected to wear a face covering whenever you cannot stay more than 6 feet apart from someone. The exception for that being in your room with your roommate, right? You don't have to do that with your roommate. But if you're walking down the hall or you're going into one of the common areas in the residence hall, then we are asking, yes, that you please wear one. And I know that seems like a bit of a pain. It is a bit of a pain. So we should at some point talk about some of the fun things that we might be doing, because all this sounds pretty scary. But you'll get, as I said, I spend days on campus, you get used to it. But yeah, we will be asking in the common areas that folks do have a face covering on. There was a question I saw about contact tracing, so if I can answer that real quick, Gina.
yes, please.
So Pacific University has a contact tracing team. We will work in conjunction with the county. Washington County has a contact tracing team. What the contact tracing team does, right, is if someone is diagnosed with COVID, the contact tracing team then figures out, okay, who were they close to, right? Who were they in close contact with? Who do we need to check on? Who do we need to keep track of? Who might need to be quarantined? So we have our own system, and we have the Washington County system, and we will use both of those.
Awesome. And this is a great question. Will the library be open for students to study at? That's a really good question.
So yes, the library is open. It's a little different than in the past. So it is going to have student ID access, right? Normally our library is open and anybody from the community can wander in, and it's nice to be able to provide that community service. But this year we are not doing that. This year it is open for students and faculty and staff only. So you will need your ID card to go into the door. It will have certain parts of the library that are blocked off. So for example, instead of wandering through the stacks and picking up your own book, the stacks will be blocked off and a librarian will go get your book for you. That's because it's hard to sanitize books, right? If you're touching them, it can't really spray them down with a disinfectant. So some things like that will be different. Students will be able to go online and reserve one of the study rooms for themselves. So you will still have access. You will still have all those services. We're not taking away any of the normal library sorts of services. It'll just be moving in and out of the building, and when and where you can be in the building that will be a little bit different.
Thank you. And then a question about voyages and move-in kind of came in. So Denise, I'm going to ask you this. If the student decided not to do voyages, they just want to make sure that they're off that list and they are on the list to be able to sign in for the regular move-in dates. Just to confirm, should they go ahead and just email you? Or would there have been an email that came through for them? How should they go about that?
So if you signed up for Voyages and you connected with them to take yourself off, why don't you just go ahead and email me? I actually have a meeting with them, I think tomorrow morning. It may be this afternoon. I can't really remember. They all blur together after a while. And we can just verify that your name has been taken off. You'll still get the same information on Monday, so you can go ahead and sign up. But yeah, if you can send me, you could either do it in the private chat or Gina put my email and I can verify that for you. Yes. I also saw, Gina, another question about Voyages and their plane tickets.
Yes.
So I will confirm this answer when I meet with them, but I do know for a fact, those of you that are with athletics, if for some reason they are not going to continue and you are still, if you have your plane tickets and everything, your arrival will still be the same. That has already been decided and determined, so feel free to make those plane tickets. I don't foresee any reason why that if you, for some reason, Voyages was canceled and you already had your plane tickets, that we wouldn't allow you in. That would be our plan. I will confirm that with them and we will get back to that person that specifically answered. But we are planning to have that as a move-in day regardless. So if you sign up for that day and some plan changes, we will communicate out to you exactly, but it's difficult to change planes and all of those different details, and it's costly. It can be costly. So we will adjust as things adjust with the state and Washington County and Pacific parameters.
Thank you so much. I know that was kind of a lot of questions, like the little question mark in a lot of families. So I'm sure that helps a lot. And so these are all great questions here. If a student decides to do in-person classes and then they kind of feel comfortable midway through, are they able to do a hybrid mix where they are still on campus but can decide to do classes remotely that day, maybe for a week or so if they feel like, you know, a little bit uncomfortable to be in person?
Yeah. So the only thing that we want students to be scared about when they're on campus is how well they're going to do on their first test. And you're not supposed to be scared otherwise. So yes, if a student changes their mind and says, hey, this is making me feel anxious, I don't want to be there, or let's say, you know, people do get colds, right? And they're just ordinary colds. You have a cold, I don't want you to come to class with a cold. Yeah. I want you to stay in your room, right? So students will be able to participate in all of their classes either way, right? Either in person or remotely, and moving back and forth. It's only students who are planning to be entirely remote, meaning they're never going to be on the campus this fall, that need to fill out the form to study remotely. And that's just so we don't lose track of you, right? We can keep track of you when you're on campus, but if you're never going to be on campus, it's harder to keep track of you. It lets us know who you are, where you are, and let's advising take a look at your schedule. Because if you happen to be a remote student in Hawaii and you've got 8 a.m. classes every day, you're going to be sad. So they're going to try to move those classes around for you, right? So that's why you need to request in advance the remote. But once students are here on campus, they're going to move around a little bit, right?
Yeah, and reach out to your professors. They're not robots, they're actual people. Sarah is also a faculty member, so you can see she is human. And so she will be able to answer those questions and help you guys through those processes. So thank you for that. Will athletes be grouped in specific dorm rooms? Denise, can you grab that one?
Sorry, I had something pop up that said unmute, and I was like, I just did, I thought. I have been known to just start talking and be on mute for like 2 to 3 minutes. Yeah. So housing assignments are complicated because our returning students have already pre-chosen where they live in the housing lottery back in the spring. So they have tried to group incoming new students in small groupings of similar athletics, but they wouldn't have like one whole wing all just be soccer or all football, but small groups of the same athletic team may be in that same wing. That's kind of how they're doing it because it was so, I'm glad I don't work in that office because that is a complicated mess of trying to figure out who would go well with each other, who's picked to have a roommate, how do all those different parameters work. So it is a little complicated, but that is my understanding is they've tried to group those new students in those smaller groupings on different floors and different wings, but yet still not have just all one wing.
For the student athletes, did they already get paired with their roommates by coaches, or is that something that they're getting notified? I know it can vary from sport to sport.
They do not get paired by their coaches. All of them would log in to their, it's called Advocate, I think is their program that they use. They got an email once they signed up that they wanted housing. They fill out a form online that starts with the matching process, and then that's how that is done. They will get notification tomorrow who their roommate is, where their location will be. And I can tell you that oftentimes, and especially with COVID-19, we really ask people to, go in to your residence hall, move in, get to know the person a little bit better than just, oh, I don't think I'm going to like this person. Many of our current students have never shared a room before, so that is a different experience, and it takes a little time for adjustments. They still have the normal protocols and procedures if somebody does need to move for some reason outside of COVID specific. So all of those same systems are in place. We're not recreating the wheel completely, except for when it's specific to COVID-19. So that process is they've already done all of that. If they have not connected or applied for housing, they can still do that. They need to log in and request that. If you are having a difficult time or not sure of that process, check in with your admissions counselor, or you can email housing@pacificu.edu and tell them, I am a little lost and I don't think that I have applied. They can help you through that process.
Thank you. And this kind of goes back to, I guess, rooming, a lot of roommate questions that are coming in. The first couple that came in is more about eating and dining. So one of the questions was, will the shared kitchens be open? And then the other one was kind of asking about what the dining is going to look like on campus now that things have shifted. So can anybody answer that question?
I think both Sarah and I can answer different parts of that question, and I may ask for clarification. I believe that the communal kitchens and lounges in the residence halls when students arrive will be closed to start with. We're kind of taking that bigger picture of being more strict to start with, and hopefully we can ease things as the semester progresses and we see where things are at with the pandemic. Dining services will be doing a takeout. They're currently refiguring and restructuring how they could do some seating in those different areas, but it will be prepackaged in containers. I believe students will get 2 containers so they can rotate those each time they bring a container back so it can be sanitized and they will pick up a new one. And there will be different locations on campus. They are currently doing a video that will be part of the COVID Moodle course that your students will receive before they arrive to campus. It will also be a part, that's one of the things that we will do during orientation the day they arrive, is kind of help them through that process so they're very clear as to what they need to do, how they need to do it, and answer any of those specific questions. Your student will be fed. If your student has a meal plan, we will feed them. I promise you that. That's always the biggest question we get during orientation is, how is my student going to be fed? So we know that is a big concern many of our family members have. And it's being discussed and videos are coming forward. I would say the biggest thing that we are trying to do is get as much information prepped and ready, but have it, that's why we're not starting the online orientation until August, because we know some things are going to continue to change and morph. So we're being very careful not to send out information that we already anticipate potentially could change too soon. We don't want to tell you one thing and then have to take it right back. So those are coming forward. I know it's difficult because you want more information. How can I prepare for my student? Or if you are our student, I think we have a few students on the call today, you know, what else can I do to be prepared and ready? So please know we are rolling it out in a manner so that it's not, one, overwhelming, because everybody is getting so many emails and technology Zoom calls right now that we're doing it specifically in a manner to help make sure that you get all the information in a timely frame that will assist you, such as on Monday, when we release the information about how to sign up, we're also planning to release the information on where our newsletters are at. For those of you that are here today, I'll just tell you, our newsletters are now on our website. We just haven't sent out the communication to tell you that they're there. Oh, surprise, you guys get a bonus for the day. Also, you know, the accommodations with the group rates that we've got set up, that was published yesterday as well. So, oh, another bonus. But that information is all going to come out on Monday in one succinct email so that you have all of it. And there's going to be a checklist of things that you can start to do now. So that way, when you are on campus and we can do that one-stop centralized check-in, we're going to be starting to hand you things. I saw earlier somebody said thank you for letting them know what was going on with the bookstore and it wasn't currently on their website. No, it is not, because they're still programming some of the stuff in the back part of their ordering process to directly impact how we're doing it on our campus with the centralized piece. So all of those little logistical pieces are happening behind the scenes. And just hear from my heart, I get it, I understand, it's frustrating not to have everything ready to go, but we're working as quickly as we possibly can.
Thank you. Sarah, could you go into a little bit of detail of what the dining is going to look like when they are here on a day-to-day basis?
Yep. So as Denise said, right, things are going to change a little bit over the course of the semester, right? So our time in the very beginning of the semester, when we have a lot of folks coming to campus from all over the place, that's when we're going to be strictest, right? And when we're going to be trying to take, you know, as many precautions as we possibly can, and then we loosen up from there. So as Denise said, in the beginning of the term, it's going to be grab and go food, right? You're going to be picking it up and sitting outside, sitting in your room, sitting at one of the tables. Over the course of the semester, we have mapped out plans to start easing some of that up a little bit. We'll go back to, you know, the next step from grab and go is a buffet, but you don't serve yourself. We serve you at the buffet, right? Next step is you get to serve yourself again. And we'll get there eventually, I promise. This isn't forever, guys. But that's sort of we will do that. We will sort of take those steps and move in that direction, depending on what the virus is looking like, right, at that time, so that we can be as safe as possible. But eventually, you know, I promise one of these days, we will get back to you going in and getting to take way too much of one food and from another. So, but.
Absolutely. The mountain of bacon I see on some of the breakfast has me a little bit concerned sometimes, but thank you for that. And this kind of hops to roommates and how that's going to look for the COVID. I know one of the questions that came is, if I test positive and my roommate doesn't, what happens? Do we have separate quarantine areas or room for students who do to contract it?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So what happens if somebody does get sick? So we have protocols and plans in place for what happens if a student gets sick, what happens if a staff member gets sick, what happens if a faculty member gets sick, all with, you know, the intention of, one, taking care of that person. That's the first thing. Two, trying to prevent any spread from that person to another person, right? And then three, making sure that everybody's schooling and this sort of thing just carries on, right? With as little interruption as possible. So if I get sick and I have a roommate, me, the sick person, I'm gonna move into a different room, recovery room that we will have set up. That we have a series of these rooms that are in a separate hall that are set up with the sheets, towels, all that sort of thing. I'm gonna get a list from my RA that's gonna say, bring these things with you, right? Your phone, your computer, things so you're not bored. And you're gonna move over into this other room for while you're sick. That is so that we can make sure that somebody's bringing you food. Food will be brought to you so that we can make sure that people are checking on you every single day in terms of your health. We'll have a counselor check in with you. We'll have an academic advisor check in with you. You'll get checked in on a lot. Good news, bad news. So the roommate then that is left behind, right, in the room, that roommate will be expected to quarantine. And that is a little different than isolating in a recovery room. So when you are in quarantine, what we'll do is clean your room. You will be asked to stay in your room except to go pick up your food. You'll take your classes remotely for that time period or until you have tested negative. But we will have all those protocols laid out for you. So it's not, you won't have to figure any of this out, right? If somebody gets sick here, even if you think, I have a sore throat, I don't know what it is, your only job is to call the student health center. We take it from there. We will tell you what to do, right? We will walk you through each step. So you don't have to have that all figured out. You don't have to know exactly what to do. We do, right? And we will help you with that.
It's nice to be in a small school again, that you're not just going to be a number in a sea of students. I went to a school with 36,000 students, and that was definitely the feeling. But at Pacific, you do kind of are treated as an individual, and we'll be able to help you with that. So this is about the 3 pathways to Pacific that we had announced a few weeks ago about the different options. So one of the questions that came in was, if we already paid tuition and classes need to go online only, is it possible to delay starting classes until they are offered in person again? Would tuition be refunded in this case?
So that's a good and complicated question. I guess it would depend a little bit on when that would happen, right? And your decision would be different depending on when that happens. You know, if we had to go online a week before the end of the semester, you're not going to want to give up all that class time, right? And forfeit that. So it would depend a little bit on when that happened. But, you know, our goal is to have you successfully go through college. We're not out to get you. So, you know, we will be figuring that out with you, depending on if and when that ever happens, right? If it happens before the semester starts, that's a whole different thing than if it happens a week before you're headed home anyway. So we will have to sort of figure it out as we go, but you will just be asking, and we will figure it out with you.
Thank you. And another question that had come in was, what form do we need to fill out if we are going to be completely remote? So I just added in here the link to our website that'll tell you about those 3 pathways. And then if you do decide that you would prefer to study remotely and you feel more comfortable with that, then you can go ahead and click on the study remotely offer, and then you can kind of see from there what forms you need to fill out. Or if you're just unsure, reach out to your admissions counselors. We're still here to help you through that, so we'll walk that through with you. These next 2 questions are great. Sarah, you mentioned being classes, and you know, we do have a lot of friends from Southern California and Hawaii, where our summer nights is considered winter. So what's going to happen when the winter actually does come and we do have tents outside?
Well, we're gonna have class out in the rain, guys. That's how we're doing. Yes, the tents will be heated. They have walls, right? So we won't make you stand in the rain. I promise.
Yes. The tents are not like the normal tents that you probably we're thinking. They're not going to be like camping tents. They're going to be actual housing kind of unit types of tents. So the next question is, will PACU notify parents if their child becomes sick? And I know there's some things with FERPA that come into play with this too. Can you kind of go into a little bit of detail with that?
So yeah, there are, this crosses sort of a number of different federal regulations, right? There are federal privacy regulations. Once somebody is a student, a matriculated student in college, that's what we're referring to when we say FERPA. So if you would like to get information about your student and your student agrees to that, your student needs to fill out a FERPA release form to allow us to contact parents, right? Otherwise, we're not allowed to do that. Now, in terms of if a student gets sick, that will depend on the circumstances, right? So if a student is let's say it's been 3 days, you've come to campus and it's 3 days since you got there, and you and your student is sick with COVID, well, that will fall within contact tracing time. So yes, you will know, because we'll be calling to say, hey, by the way, he's sick at home. So it'll depend, right, in terms of what is happening there. But you can fill out a form that lets us go back and forth. Otherwise, at any office you call on campus to ask any parent that calls to ask about their student, the first thing they're going to hear is, I can't really answer that without a FERPA release. So so if you want that communication, you need to fill out that FERPA release.
Thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and add in another link in here as well that kind of talks a little bit about that FERPA release. I don't see the form that you need to fill out that your student would need to fill out, but it'll get you in the right direction. So you can kind of start from there. And the next question that came in is a question. Sorry, go ahead.
Hang on one sec. Denise was going to add in something there.
Sure. So I work in student affairs in general, and there are normal protocols in place at any point that there might be a situation. We will continue to follow those protocols, which also serve FERPA regulations. The one thing that you need to know is you can always give us information. You can contact the student support office, which then puts it out to everybody that needs to get that information. And oftentimes what will happen is when a student needs or there's something going on, us in student affairs or whoever's working with them will say, why don't we, are you comfortable with us and you connecting with your parent? And oftentimes we're sitting there with them as they do that. But it's really that transition piece of them giving us that permission and walking them through and helping with that as well. So I know it's hard as a parent that just had a student that went on and has those FERPA regulations. Even though I work at the university, I still don't know his information. And so there are normal protocols in place. And so know that if there is an emergency, that will continue to happen the way it does. And the COVID specific is just a little different, especially with the contact tracing.
And you know, to tie into that, you know, I talked about, hey, if you get sick, you get moved over to this other room. That form that says, hey, get your phone, get your computer. It also says, can we talk to your parents, right? So they'll get prompted to answer that question also.
Well, that's good. That's definitely great to hear that there are steps there. I also have a question about items for move-in, Denise. And I'm actually going to add a couple items on here myself from popular questions that we get. Is it okay to have a refrigerator and a microphone in the microwave in the dorm room?
So yes, you can have a mini fridge. If you go onto the housing's website, they actually have a list of those items that are allowed and those items that are not allowed. Microwaves in each individual room is not allowed. It just overloads the electrical system with over 200 rooms. I do know, because of COVID and the communal kitchens won't be available, that they are looking at putting additional microwaves in hallways so people still have access to that. So definitely go onto the housing's website to see which things are allowed, which things aren't allowed. And for the things that we're changing, we're also adapting where they can still get access to those things. Can I go back to the FERPA release piece?
Yes,
because
please.
I have more info because I also see somebody's comments. So many of our offices have multiple FERPA releases. The business office has a different one, financial aid has a different one, and all of those different offices are trying to put those things online. I know that the business office one is already online. Financial aid is developing theirs as of last week. We in orientation will also put that on our website as to where to go to do that, because that is a new process. It used to be that you had to hand sign those. We're now using a program called DocuSign. You're going to see a lot of things coming out through DocuSign. The FERPA release that Gina put up was specific to recommendations and references. I don't know about a COVID specific one, but I'm guessing that's either in the works or it's not there. But everything else will be online, or they're adjusting their practices, and we will continue to tell you where those things are at as they are developed. I don't know if they're on their website. Sometimes it's difficult to find where an actual form may live. So we will have some hyperlinks off of the orientation web pages as to where to go get those forms. We had meetings about that last week.
Thank you. If you think of Box, kind of like the Google forms that you have, where there are a million folders that you can put things in and rename them to other things. And so that's kind of what our Box is. It is a high level security, so people cannot hack into it. And that's why everything is on Box for us. And your student does need to sign in a couple times to be able to access Box. And that's just because of the time just the sensitive information that's on there. And so it does take a couple of steps to log into Box, but that is going to be something that your student will have to get used to once they are fully matriculated on campus. And so that's kind of what the Box folder is. When you hear us keep referring to Box and you click on it and nothing really pops up, it's because you probably have to sign in about 3 or 4 times to actually get to the form. So that is the Box folder there. And another question that came is, his son is bringing his laptop. Any specific requirements for what he'll need for virtual classes? This is a question that we get every year. So can either one of you maybe answer that question for us?
You need a computer that connects to the internet, and then you'll be okay. There are recommendations. You can go to UIS, University Information Systems, right, pages on our website, and they do have suggestions. But a computer will do the job, right? So either way, in my office too, I've got one laptop, one desktop, one Mac, one PC. So, you'll
a little bit of everything.
It'll work.
Yep. And there really is no preference in PC versus Mac. That is the other question that we get every year. It's whatever you feel comfortable with. Any programs that your laptop is not able to maybe process, but you need for a class, we do have UIS. Again, if that's a university information center, there are tech help desk guys, and they will check out a laptop for you that has all of those programs for you. So you won't have to worry about it. Do students need a printer for the classroom?
Nope. There are printers on campus. Students can print to those printers.
Yep. And I think students get a $30 credit a year, and it's like 5 or 10 cents a page. So there's plenty that you have, and there's multiple printers in buildings throughout, including your residence hall. So you do not need a printer. And the dorms do have Wi-Fi. Our campus is connected. It does take a couple of trials, just kind of like the Box where you have to sign in a couple times. You just need to certify your device, and we'll have steps for that when you move in as well. So you do have access to Wi-Fi. And the next question is for Denise here. Is it possible to get actual room dimensions based on the room assignment so they can purchase items that actually fit into the space? Or, how much room is there under the bed or storage? Could you kind of go into a little bit about measurements there?
Sure. So if you go onto the housing's webpage and then click, once they get their assignments, click on their building, it will give you a general overview of the sizes of the rooms. Each one is just a little bit different just because of how the buildings are structured. but it'll give you a general dimension framework. If you have a specific question, you can always email housing and they can answer that for you. The other thing that I would recommend, we recommend this every year, is don't try to pre-purchase everything. Sometimes people bring a lot of stuff that they think they're going to need, but then they get in there and they realize, actually, I really don't need that. So what we recommend is, bring the necessities and then give your student a little bit of extra money so that after a couple of weeks, they can go out and purchase additional items if they need them, or you can have them shipped to the university. We have a full service mail room, so that could come from Amazon or wherever. So that is really the recommendation. Don't try to pre-purchase everything. Yep.
Thank you. Is there a locking compartment of some sort for students to put something like important things like laptops in their dorm rooms?
So they do not have individual compartments or safes or anything. If your student has something they want to lock up, we recommend that they get like a little lockbox that they can bring with them. I know when I was a student at Pacific, I had a little lockbox that I put some stuff in. The other thing we always recommend is when they leave their room, they lock their room up. That's just good safety for everybody to adhere. And I know it's super easy. It's like, oh, I'm just going down the hall to the restroom, or I'm just going to go across to the UC for a few minutes. But we always recommend that they lock their room up when they leave. And that'll also be something that they'll want to have a conversation with their roommate is, how do we do this? So Residence Life, once the students arrive, have meetings. They're going to be doing a lot of them via Zoom that talks about how to have a contract with your roommate so that you're on the same page about different things. And that would be one of those, is locking your room and your personal belongings and where those things would be stored.
Thank you so much. And again, all the residence halls are locked all hours of the day, and even visiting families will not have access to it, including any tours and stuff. We will not be going inside the buildings, and it's really going to be student access only. So, and again, like Denise said, lock your front doors, same thing as lock your dorm doors. So I think we are kind of winding down with the questions here. I know that was a lot of information, and I know there were several links that we sent out. So what I'll do is I'll follow up with a Q&A again, kind of PDF form, so that you have that one sheet that you can refer to for email contacts as well as links to websites. And then we'll go ahead and send out the link to this video along with the Q&A. Few more questions that are coming in at the last minute here. Are there safes or lock boxes to rent on campus?
No, that would be something you need to purchase and bring with you or have sent to the university. I would not recommend buying a safe. I would recommend more of a lockbox, that type of a thing. And I can answer the second one. At this moment, we are not planning a parent or family weekend at this time. There's just too many different moving parts. We've already condensed our academic calendar for the year, so students leave after Thanksgiving and don't return but finish those classes online. So at the moment, we are not planning that. There are conversations in the spring when COVID hit. It was me that hosted a 6-week series for family members to give additional information and have different offices can come and present. So we're discussing that right now as how we will continue that outreach to our family members. So look for more information to come in September. Also, families will receive newsletters that the university produces. We actually have a new system that is coming into place that will be launched in August. So look for more information on that. I feel like I have a ton of information going on in my head, and I just keep spewing, actually. So just watch your emails, pay attention, click on the links, and that's where you're going to continue to get all of that information.
Thank you. And a good rule of thumb for students here, because I know I have couple students who chatted with me privately saying that they're not getting their communications. Check your Pacific emails, and you should be checking that multiple times a day at this point now, just because we have so many different departments that will be emailing you to your Pacific email. I know admissions, we had your other email address that you had when you first you're in high school. I know that feels like a long time ago already. So that email address kind of stays within the admissions office. And then once you matriculate as a student at Pacific, you should, everything will be sent to your Pacific email. So if you're having issues with your Pacific email address, reach out to us, your admissions counselor, and we can put you in the right direction, or help@pacificu.edu. That's also the email address for UIS, and they'll be able to help check that for you. So once again, thank you so much for this wonderful update. I know that was a lot of information. We will have this video recording posted, and I will go ahead and start on the Q&A with the links to all of the kind of things that we talked about. There were a lot of different things. So please continue to reach out to us if you have any questions. Next week, we do have our College of Education hopping in to talk a little bit about their department. And then we have the chemistry department coming the following week to talk a little bit about the pharmacy program as well. I know that's really popular. And then it's going to be our handoff. I think we're going to hand it off to Student Affairs soon. And so please just kind of continue checking in with us through these series. Sarah and Denise, any last kind of words or advice that you'd like to say before we sign off?
Nope, just that I'm excited to see you all. I look forward to it. The start of school is always my favorite time of year. So even in COVID, it's going to be my favorite time of year.
I would just echo the same sentiments. We're excited about all the different things that we're putting together, and it's going to be a wild and woolly time for everybody, students, staff, faculty, but we're in this together, and that's the biggest thing. We'll just work it together and be adaptable. That's my word. I should have that like tattooed on me. It's adaptable.
I feel like that.
Gina, I think we're just going to keep you, and you can just continue to do all of the Zoom calls from now on.
Oh gosh, thank you. Oh my God, thank you so much, everybody, again. And we'll send out the recording tomorrow, and we'll see you next week. Thank you again for your time, and have a great rest of the day, everybody.